I'm Jenna Miscavige. I was born and raised in Scientology. I left when I was 21 years old and wrote a book about it. My uncle, David Miscavige, is the leader of Scientology, and this is my YouTube channel. Hey guys, so I asked Dallas, my ex-husband, to come do a video with me today so we can talk about our Scientology wedding. I thought it would be fun for us to both talk about it and to give our version of events, but mostly for Dallas to tell the story and for me to criticize him while he says it. But we were both in Scientology together. We were in the Sea Org, which is Scientology's most dedicated group. And we got married when I was 18. He was 22. He's a cradle robber, just joking. And we were married for 22 years until 21. This is why we're divorced. We were married for 22 years.
When did we get divorced?
What do you mean?
When
you don't know that we're divorced?
When was our divorce finalized?
I don't need to make that broad public.
Okay. But it was 2 years. It was 21 years.
This is why I divorced him, you guys. He's wrong. He doesn't even know how long we were married for. And
what year did we get married?
2002.
Yeah. So that means we would have been married in September of 2024 to be 20 years.
I'm going to cut all of this out. He's right, and that's why I'm going to cut it out. We were married for 21 years. Anyways, and so we've obviously been through a lot together, leaving Scientology, being in Scientology, leaving Scientology. We have 2 kids together. And so I thought it would be fun to tell the story together and, just remember it because it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was.
So do you remember the day that we got married?
So the day we got married, I remember.
But not just the ceremony.
Yeah,
for
sure, the day.
Okay.
I remember I was in Decem.
So that's a part of Scientology where they make all the magazines that they send out to all the Scientologists saying how great Scientology is doing and how amazing it is. He worked in the department where they make those magazines.
Yeah. So I was a typesetter and final layout and did all the languages and stupid magazines and brochures and flyers and billboards.
Yeah.
But I remember I was in the typesetting room and you came down and you knocked on the door and then you came and you said, "We can get married." Wait, was it? No, I don't remember.
Well, you just made this shit up.
Yeah. Well, I remember that. I remember that part, like you coming down. I have approval. We could get married. We should get married today. Or something. I don't remember if it was the day of or the day, because we called my parents and asked them to come.
Yeah. Okay. At first I didn't remember this part. I just remember the drive to the courthouse. Okay. But now
the courthouse. We didn't get married on that day.
Yeah, we did.
No, we had to get our license.
I know it was the same day.
No, it wasn't.
It was the same day.
No, it was not the same day.
Oh God, it was the same day.
We need to find our marriage certificate because it'll have the date we signed it and then the date. Because they had to issue the certificate before we could get married, right?
Yeah, they did.
The same day? Okay.
Well, they gave it to us. Okay, and you have to get it signed by a minister.
You want to go back that. Okay, yes. I remember we got approval to take the morning to go get our marriage certificate after months of trying. Well, a year. Well, it was months.
Which is like 20 years in Scientology years, because in the Sea Org, which is Scientology's most dedicated group, basically you can't have sex until you get married. So people like date, which means holding hands after work, which is after midnight.
Yeah.
And they get married like a month later.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. Like people, it's like there's not a lot to learn about each other. It's like you're both in Scientology, you're both in the Sea Org, you both have signed a 1 billion year contract. And so you have absolutely everything in common because everybody there is basically exactly the same when you're in a cult.
And you spend maybe an hour every other night together, maybe half an hour Like,
Yeah.
that's about as much time as we spend together. So,
Yeah, exactly.
so young and dumb, we decided to get married.
Yeah. But he was older, so I have more of an excuse.
Yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
joking.
So we got approval to go in the morning. And so I had a truck, unlike most Sea Org members, that my parents externally influenced, which means they paid for my insurance, and we didn't tell anyone because we would have gotten in trouble.
Yeah, and the Sea Org, if you have a car, it's like there's nowhere to park. You only make $50 a week. So how can you pay for gas? How can you pay for insurance? How can you pay for any of it? So basically his parents were paying for it, but you have to hide it because they'll try to take it away.
Yeah. So I paid for gas. They paid for insurance. But
he had an old like red Toyota truck.
1989 Toyota.
It was a stick
SR5,
shift. Yeah.
4-wheel drive.
It was called Truckee.
Yeah, she called it Truckee.
Yeah, and I put a sticker on it that had like a fairy, and he didn't like that.
Oh, no, I didn't.
And I tried to learn how to drive in that thing.
Yeah.
And it was impossible.
Yeah.
It was called the Red Dragon.
Red Dragon. Yeah.
And Truckee, I guess. Anyways, continue.
Many names. So I remember we were on E because I didn't have much gas. And we had to go so we were in the Hollywood Guarantee building, which is on Hollywood and Ivar right there.
The big Scientology
almost
building.
Hollywood and Vine.
On Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah. So, and we had to go down to East LA because that's where the closest place to get a marriage certificate, the courthouse was.
Okay.
So we drove down, and it was close to downtown, and we had to stop to get gas. And it was like, okay, we need to put $5 in. When I have $5, we'll get gas.
We only had $5 in the account. we never had any money.
Get this, and then it'll get us there and back. And so my truck had a lock on the gas cap, not on the gas cap, on the, it's on the door to the gas cap.
Yeah.
And it was the same key that you use for the ignition. So they're keyed together. And this is before you had like electronic keys. It was just a plain key. So I remember, and it was always finicky, and it would always like, you'd have to wiggle it and get it open because it was an older car and I didn't take good care of it or whatever. And it was a stupid idea. And then, so what happened is I was going and I was wiggling it, and we were like, we got to get back in time, blah, blah, blah. And the key broke off in the gas door. And I was like, oh, fuck. That's my, oh yeah, I can cuss on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I was like, I went and told Jen, I was like, this is what's happening. And so
you guys, we have been waiting months, which in retrospect sounds like a very short amount of time to get married, but it's like the longest of anybody in the Sea Org. And we basically like went through fucking hell, interrogation, separation, like busting down doors, like freaking
trapped in a basement, 24-hour watch, sent to Big Bear. Everything. Told we couldn't get married by my first boss that they sent me to, and then the second boss said I could. So it was just stupid.
So this key situation happening was like unbelievable.
Icing on the cake.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was able to pull it out because it was sticking out a little, like it broke off at the key in the straight part. So it was like, okay, what do we do now? And I was like, well, let me put gas in because we need to get back and we need to figure it out. And we were thinking, and Jenna takes the little piece and she puts it in my ignition. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, how? And she's like, well, let's just try it. And I was like, so you couldn't
He's
pull it out.
He's thinking how stupid. And it's literally the obvious thing is how smart. Like, it's the obvious genius. Intelligent thing to do.
Yeah, it was girl logic. So then I was able to stick the rest of the key in because it broke off, and you had a little nub, and use that, and the ignition would turn because the key was in there. And I was like, okay, it worked. So then we just turned it, and then we went to the courthouse, and then we waited in line, and they were like, you're too young to get married. And we're like, don't even ask us. You don't even know what we've been through. And we got the license, and then we rushed back.
Oh, wait, on the license, though, I don't know if this is, remember it had like Jennifer on it? It's my
Jennifer.
name is misspelled.
Yeah, they misspelled Jennifer. So we had to get them to issue that. Mm-hmm. And then we went back, and we got back like, I think we were a little late, and we thought we were going to get into trouble. No one cared on my end.
Everybody was terrified of me by this point.
Yeah, exactly. And we parked. There was no parking. You couldn't park in the Scientology parking lot because that building doesn't have has a parking lot across the street that's fenced off. That's only for senior execs. And then we have the annex building across the street that had an alley. And because she was in the landlord office, we would park there.
The landlord office is a part where we designed church buildings and
Yeah. So we'd park there and get yelled at by everyone because we're not supposed to be parking there. And
because they were jealous that we had a car.
Yeah. And they were scared of Jenna by that time. So they didn't really get us in trouble, but they were mad and would yell at us.
I feel like they did. Debbie Rousseau.
Well, she would yell
remember
about
her?
It. Yeah. But she parked there.
Yeah.
So that was, so we parked and then went, and then we had
Okay, nobody cares about the parking. Let's skip to the end.
This is why
You're going in really detail about the parking
Well, you wanted me
space.
to. You said tell the story.
Some parts are more important than others.
That was very stressful for me, is parking that car every time and being yelled at unless you were there. And then they wouldn't yell at me. They would just give me the evil eye. But if you weren't there, I'd get yelled at.
Okay.
So
I see what you mean.
Yeah, so then we went back to work.
Yes.
My dad was an ordained Scientology minister, and so he
lived in San Diego.
Yeah, he lives in San Diego.
He wasn't like a Sea Org member. He was a public Scientologist. So he had a regular job. Yeah. And he lived in San Diego. So did his sister and his mom and his brother and all that.
So on the way back, when we were driving back, I called them from the car because we had a cell phone.
This is the one that we went to war about, that they tried to take away our cell phone. And it was like, Yeah.
So we called them on the way back and told them that we got our license and we're going to get married. And they asked if they could be there. And I said, well, we want to get married tonight. And my dad he said he'd come up and marry us.
Because you have to have a minister sign the marriage license in order for it to be complete.
Or a captain.
Whatever that is.
A captain of a boat.
Oh, okay.
We're in the Sea Org. We could have found a captain. But so he said they would come up, and we said, well, we wanted to get it done tonight. And they said, we'll drive up tonight. And so they were coming up, and it was just going to be my mom and dad. And then we went back to work, and then we knew we couldn't get any more time off. So we had to go after hours. So we got off work. It was 11:30. Mm-hmm. She says 12. I said 11:30. And then we were going to meet my parents at CC Celebrity Center, which is the one in Gower, and the one off of Gower, that's the big
Everybody
mansion.
Knows where Gower is, right? Anyways, it's the LA. Celebrity Center in LA. Not everybody's from LA. Yeah. It's just the big Celebrity Center in LA. And like a lot of Sea Org members would get married there.
Yeah, they have beautiful gardens, and it's like a big chateau hotel thing.
Yeah, it's like some French, like Renaissance style. And
and I worked there. That's where I first joined the Sea Org.
Yeah, that's where he came into Scientology because he wanted to.
Scientology.
Oh, sorry. That's where he came into the Sea Org. He would take courses at the Celebrity Center because he wanted to be an actor.
Yeah, I was going to act and dance.
This is where we need to insert the headshots.
The headshots, yeah.
Yes.
I don't know where they are.
We're finding them and we're showing them.
Yeah, famous. Infamous. So they met us at CC. And then so we drove over, but we needed a witness. So we brought
my best friend Claire and another friend of mine named Phil.
Yeah.
They were in the same group that I was in, and yeah, but like no one from my family was there. My mom and dad weren't there. They didn't even know that I was getting married, and they would have no way of knowing because I couldn't even like call them or even like write them a letter without it going through like 25 executives. And yeah.
So we all crammed in my truck, and it was like an access cab with half seats and only had the 2 doors. You couldn't get in and out. So they were like in the back like this, or Jenna and Claire were, and she let Phil sit in the front. And then we drove over, parked at CC, and then we
were both wearing our uniforms.
All 4 of us were wearing our uniforms.
Yeah.
Because we just came off work.
Yeah, and I had all this spray glue on my shoes because I used spray glue to make design boards.
Yeah, and
so I looked like a bum.
Ugly ass uniforms. Not like the good ones. It was like the blue ones with the epaulets and the.
Yeah, because we weren't in a Scientology
military looking like working blues.
Yeah, because we didn't work with Scientology public. We were like in a management organization, so they were like, we got like the crappy uniforms.
Yeah, so we showed up at CC. We walked into the lobby, and my parents were there, but not only my parents, my brother and my sister came up, and my sister's new boyfriend from Brazil,
who was barely a Scientologist at all,
wasn't a Scientologist.
Yeah,
right. They've been dating for like 2 months or something. And then my brother's wife and their brand new baby, who was probably like a month old. Yeah, because she was born in August and it was September, so she was like a month old, a tiny.
Yeah.
So they all surprised us by coming, and then we're like, oh, okay. So then Claire and Phil were like, well, I guess we'll stay. We don't need us anymore because you have other witnesses. And it's like, okay, cool. And then we went out to the
gazebo
garden and under the gazebo there at midnight. So this is where the midnight comes in.
Yeah.
Because it was probably midnight by the time we started, or a little after midnight.
Right. Yeah.
Said hi to everyone. And
and so to be honest, I had only met his brother and sister maybe once before.
Yeah, at that breakfast.
Yes. Yeah. And I'd maybe met his mom a couple times, and I met his dad once or twice. But even though they were Scientologists, I still didn't even like, most of the people who I had hung out with or spoken to my whole life were Sea Org members. So I was even still like a little afraid to be around. What?
Odd.
Why is that odd?
You were still odd.
Oh yeah, I was still odd. I was still like I would kind of hide behind Dallas, and I was like, didn't really know what to say to them. I didn't know how to be normal. Like in the Sea Org, when you would like walk up to people, you weren't like, hi, nice to meet you. Oh, so lovely to see you again. We were like, shut the fuck up and get to work. Like there wasn't any of these social niceties. So whenever people would do that, it was like, I don't know, it was just scary for me. So yeah, it was just awkward for me.
Yeah, and my family was always really close, so they would come up. My mom would come up once every few months and have breakfast with us on CSP days, with the days we had off in the morning.
Yeah,
and she would take us to lunch and stuff. So that's how Jenna knew her.
CSP is the one day of week when we would do cleaning. So she would sometimes come up on them. It was actually just a morning where we would do cleaning, and then we could have lunch with her.
Yeah. Exactly. So they were all there. So then my dad married us. He's like, which sermon? Because Scientology has this minister book that has all the wedding ceremonies, and they're all different things. And
you can choose from different ones.
You can choose different ones. And Jen's like, I want the shortest one possible. I don't care.
Oh my God, I didn't remember that. Okay.
Yeah. And he's like, well, this one. And she's like, I don't care. Just this one, the shortest one. Just let's get it over with.
That's a red flag.
I was like, wow, gold digger. No, just kidding.
You didn't even have $5 for the gas.
So we picked the shortest one in there, and then we had rings because my dad owned a jewelry store, so he hooked us up with rings for that. Oh yeah, he brought a few rings for me to choose. Jenna had her She already had her engagement ring, and he brought a wedding band.
No,
right?
I don't think I had one. I think we just used the one I had. Yeah, because remember I didn't have one until later.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So we used your engagement ring, and he brought a few bands for me to try on and pick one. So that was easy. We had that subsidized. And then my brother was my best man, and Claire was your maid of honor. And then we sat there. Then we got married. It was what? Maybe
his dad did the ceremony.
Yeah. So
can you tell them about the ceremony? Like what it says?
Oh, I don't remember what it was. This
is how important it was to him.
I didn't get to pick the one. You picked the ceremony, and it said the shortest one possible. So I was like, "Do you want to get married? Do you want to get married?" ARC triangle.
Yeah, there is
rings
this thing
of
they
infinity.
do. They hold up the rings.
Did they do that with this one?
Yeah.
Okay. I know it's in every other
guys.
Sea Org
again, this
wedding.
Is why we're divorced.
Every other Sea Org wedding, but I don't think that was in our.
It was
ceremony. Okay.
So they hold up the rings, right? And they tell you
inside each ring, think of the triangle.
In Scientology, they have this thing called the ARC triangle. It's like a triangle, and it has.
And I will say this is one.
It has affinity, reality, and communication. It has affinity, reality, and communication, and those things add up to understanding.
Oh, that doesn't make sense.
And basically, they think that if you increase your affinity, then you can increase, or if you increase your, then it automatically increases all the other ones, and you get understanding. Anyways, So they have you take the rings, and they say, imagine a triangle in the rings.
Yeah, but that wasn't our ceremony. That's every other wedding that you went to.
Well, at least just tell what happens.
So they say if you can't have a break in communication, if you can't go to bed on an upset, you can't. I don't know.
You can't go to bed on an upset. He never did that, by the way. He always went to bed on an upset. Just saying.
That's because she never let things go.
That is getting cut. Anyways, So continuing on.
This random Scientology's language that they talk, and you're just like, okay, get on with it. And then it was like, I do, and then kiss the bride, and then she felt awkward because there was people there she doesn't even know, and it was.
What are you saying? I fucking kiss you.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But
thanks for adding that in.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Anyways, continue.
And then that was it, and then it was like, okay, what are you guys going to do now? And it was like, oh, Jen has to go back to work.
Yeah, we were.
Because she was on a project.
Yeah, I was designing a Scientology church in Brussels. And it was this whole evolution. We had to get it approved by my uncle. And it was urgent. And so, I just had to go back to work after that. Didn't you have to go back to work too? Was that not when you're.
Not that night.
Okay.
So then, was it a Saturday and we had CSP the next day?
I don't know. There was something.
I kind of feel like we went to breakfast with them.
Yeah, we did. We went to Denny's or something.
Yeah. So they I think they rented a hotel room up there, not at the Manor, but at a different place.
Yeah,
the Manor's way too expensive.
Yeah, they went to the Travelodge. And then the next morning was our cleaning day. And so we went out to.
So we went to breakfast with them
after I was up all night. I never went to
Jenna
sleep.
Came home at probably 7 a.m., I think.
Yeah.
So we dropped you back off at 12:45, 1.
Yeah.
So it's less than a half an hour we were there, back and done with this wedding.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was crazy. No wedding dress, no food, none of my family, no nothing. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy, even for a Sea Org wedding.
Yeah. Yeah, and most people, you got to go to the ceremony and they had the day off. We didn't even get that.
Yeah. And sometimes they even get a honeymoon.
Yeah.
But we didn't get that.
It's because we were waiting for so long, all those 6 months.
Yeah, and we burned a lot of bridges in the process.
Yeah.
Mostly me.
Yeah.
But yeah, even though it was crazy and kind of really sad, obviously I wouldn't want our daughter to have that kind of wedding. It is kind of crazy.
Makes a good story.
Yeah, it does.
You're like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Yeah.
And you were okay with that? I guess.
It was the only wedding I've had.
Option we had.
Yeah, only wedding he's had. The only wedding I've had didn't. I guess we knew a little bit different, but not too much.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We knew it was odd, but everything was odd about our relationship from the get-go. not everything, but everything around the church.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing. What about
what?
What about when we first moved in together and you had to sleep with all the stuffed animals?
Oh my God.
Tell about
that was the stupidest thing. Now, we had a room before we were married, unlike most people who have to wait like 3 months.
Yeah, but we couldn't go into the room.
Wasn't I sleeping in that room? You couldn't go in that room, or vice versa?
No, I wasn't sleeping in it. Basically, it's like when you get married in the Sea Org, you have to like convince the person who's in charge of the birthing to get you a room, and you have to like pull favors because there's only a limited number of rooms. And so sometimes people like don't get a room until way later.
Yeah.
But we got one.
Yeah, it's not a priority to them to
to have people be able to sleep together. They don't give a crap.
Like we can't fit as many people in a sardine can.
Yeah.
The room I was in had 4 people in bunk beds in a hotel room, basically. 1 bathroom in a hotel room.
Right. And mine had 5.
So
it was, so to make a room that's just for 2 people.
9 people in 3 bunk beds with 1 bathroom.
Well, mine had 3, but not 9 people.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So we had this room, and then we got a king size bed. We're like, oh, we're married. Let's get a big bed. And I think it was on sale at IKEA or wherever. I don't even think we were too cheap to go to IKEA. We went to something like Sit and Sleep.
Yeah, I don't know.
Clearance section.
Anyways.
And literally all but a twin size part of the mattress was filled with her stuffed animals tucked into the covers, like not just on top like throw pillows, but tucked into the covers that I was not allowed to move because they have feelings too. And literally would not. And then so I was like, okay. And then I'd sleep, and then she would like crush me on the other side. And it was like, I was like, no, you sleep by the stuffed animals. And then so I'd either be pushed off the bed or all the covers would be stolen by the stuffed animals and her. And now she has payback because our daughter won't get rid of any stuffed animals because she created this monster.
When I was little, I was
one that sang the craziest song ever that would go off in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
It was very creepy.
If you touched it like in the wrong place, or it would be like this high pitched voice, and his head would go like this, and it would sing this.
And it needed really to be under the covers.
Well, it was because there were stuffed animals that my parents gave me, and they were like, and growing up, I was
and the real reason they need to be under the covers because the covers had to be up to your neck because there's vampires. That was the other reason that made it very odd. You
guys, it's not even a joke. It's not even a joke. I was so afraid of night as a kid. Like, as a kid, when I was at the ranch, which was the boarding school that I grew up in, like I would like stay up so late because I was so afraid to close my eyes, and I would have all my stuffed animals tucked in all sides, and I was burning hot, but I could not, like I had to cover my neck because for some reason I was afraid of vampires and not murderers. I was really, really afraid of vampires my entire life. It was also weird because I thought vampires were really hot too. So I don't know why I was afraid of them, and I thought they were hot. But anyways, like every night, like even I was just so afraid. It was so hard for me to fall asleep. And so when we finally got married, like it was honestly hard for me to not always sleep in a bed with my friend because, and I always was in a dorm with like 6 or 7 people. And so, so there was a period of time when I first was brought to LA, when I had to live in a room by myself, and it was really scary for me. Like, it was terrifying. I'd never been in a room by myself. And so anyways, when we got married, it was like, I don't know. I just had to like have all these stuffed animals that were protecting me, but it was my job to protect them. Even though I was 18 years old. And yeah. And do you remember I would wake up in the middle of the night all the time and be like, I'm scared?
Yeah. Yeah. Because we'd had 0 hours of sleep. We'd get 3 hours of sleep, and she'd wake me up in hour 1.5 and say, I'm scared. And I'd be like, of what? I don't know. I'm just scared. I'm like, I need to sleep. Like, leave me alone.
This is why I divorced him.
Yeah, the writing was on the wall. She's crazy.
Anyways.
No, yeah, you were scared. You were legit scared. Like, if I pulled the covers down because it was too hot, you're like, no, I need them up. I at least need the sheet. And that's why I pushed her over by the stuffed animals, and I slept on the side where I could flip the covers up and stuff.
What a dick. Anyways, yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's it. That's our story of getting married in Scientology. And even though it was crazy, we did stay married for 21 years. And even though we're divorced, it's still a successful marriage because we have 2 awesome kids and we don't hate each other anymore. We're pretty much good now. We're doing a video together.
Yeah.
I hated him. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Don't get married young in a cult. That's my advice.
Yes, indeed. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us. If you could please check out Sins of Scientology on YouTube. And if you haven't read my book already, you can find it on Amazon. It's called Beyond Belief, My Secret Life Inside Scientology and My Harrowing Escape.
Yeah, it's a great chapter called Dallas. He has a beautiful singing voice.
Oh, yeah, you guys, there's a typo in the book. It says that, like I was, I don't know how it got in there. And I honestly didn't know that this was in the book until I was listening to it myself, which sounds really egotistical, but yes, I've listened to my own book. And it was talking about when
this was years after, like no one caught it the first time we read it or listened to it.
Yeah. I was listening to the book, and it was talking about when me and Dallas first started dating, and he would tell me stories about his family. And it says in the book, and he had an amazing singing voice.
Angelic singing voice. I think it said, didn't it?
Something
or
like
voice
that.
Like an angel.
Something like that. But the truth is that I really like singing. And so I would have been talking to my co-writer and been like, I liked singing, probably saying that Dallas thought I had an angelic singing voice, right?
I would think so.
I don't have an angelic singing voice, but I do like singing. And I probably said that. And the co-writer, Lisa, who's a wonderful person, thinks she's secretly in love with Dallas just a little bit. So she had to change it to that he has an angelic, heavenly singing voice.
And that was when our marriage troubles started, when Jenna read that chapter.
When he got credit for my amazing singing voice and I didn't. No, honestly, there's nothing more preposterous than saying that Dallas has an angelic singing voice.
I do not have an angelic singing voice.
Not at all.
I don't mind singing in the car, and Jenna yells at me because I'm not good at it.
Yeah, and he sings so loud that I can't even hear the tune. And
that she can't sing.
So that I can't sing, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, that was it.
Just that last little anecdote. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, now it's recording.
Okay.
Okay, wait, let me just see what I intended on saying.
Just a Q&A?
No, we're going to tell the story about what happened, and mostly you while I criticize you as you're I can't. I don't know why I write stuff down because I can't remember it.
Just refresh your brain of what you're talking about.
Oh no, I just read this. I have no recollection of what I just read.